Hey, this is the 3.3 video for Wiijiwaaganag, and it's all about language and power. So let's get started. Why is language important? Language is power. Language lets us access information, collaborate with others, express our ideas, and be creative. Think about your day so far. What did you do so far today? Take a moment to just think through some of the different things you've done. Now, if you couldn't speak, listen, read, or write, what things would be a lot harder? What things would just be completely impossible? Watching this video right now and taking notes on it is one of them that would probably be pretty impossible, right? Language and oppression is historically really important in our country and in our world. Because language is powerful, people who are in power have often used it to oppress or keep down certain groups of people. And it's not surprising in that way that throughout history, a lot of groups have tried to oppress others and take away their power using language. Here are some examples of when that has happened in this country's history. First of all, the Alabama Slave Code of 1833 included the following law. Any person who shall attempt to teach any free person of color or slave to spell, read, or write shall upon conviction thereof by indictment be fined. So it was actually against the law to teach enslaved people how to read or write, how to become literate. Legal treaties often used misleading language to take advantage of indigenous peoples. A law in 1367 made it illegal to speak Irish around English colonists. In 1541, Irish was banned in all parts of Ireland under English rule. So that's an example from outside of our country. Books and other sources of information are banned to prevent people from spreading certain ideas that are not popular with those in power. Slurs also can dehumanize groups or characterize them as other. Language and empowerment is the flip side. In the same way that language can be used to keep people down, language can be used to give people more power. And one of those people who did that just about better than anyone else is this guy here, Frederick Douglass. He wrote a book about it. He was an enslaved person and was not allowed to learn how to read or write. But he knew it was important. He knew that if he could read and write, he could do things that would allow for his freedom. And so he figured out how to do it on his own. As a little kid, he convinced kids who he met on the street to teach him how to read and write. He also got a hold of newspapers, and he got a hold of books that taught reading and writing to little kids, and figured out how to learn how to read and write on his own. He was an amazing human. Eventually, he, of course, escaped slavery and became a major figure in the abolitionist or the getting rid of slavery movement, right? And he said this about reading: the reading of these documents enabled me to utter my thoughts and to meet the arguments brought forward to sustain slavery. So instead of being oppressed by not being able to read and write, he teaches himself how to read and write and then uses that language to fight against those who thought it was okay to enslave human beings. Another example of language and empowerment is the Ojibwe People's Dictionary, which is a dictionary that was just made recently showing what certain Ojibwe words mean in English. And we have this quote here: the goals were to create a searchable, talking Ojibwe English and English Ojibwe dictionary that speaks in the voices of Ojibwe elders, as well as providing a gateway into the Ojibwe collections of the Minnesota Historical Society, providing greater access to cultural objects in the MHS collection for Ojibwe community members. Linguistic oppression happens in our book, Wiijiwaaganag, and already in the first 2 chapters we've seen this. The first example is staff at Poleville force the students to only speak English, and they make no effort to learn Ojibwe-Moan. They don't think that's important at all, and so kids are punished or discouraged, at least, from speaking Ojibwe-Moan. Niige and others are assigned English names. They don't even get to choose them. They're just told, okay, here's your name now. This is your new name. Some characters refer to the Ojibwe with racist and derogatory terms like Injun, and assume all indigenous people are the same, not bothering to learn that Ojibwe is just one group of Native Americans in a vast system of groups. Linguistic empowerment in Wiijiwaaganag. So again, the flip side is that characters use language to empower themselves. Students secretly speak to each other in Ojibwe-Moan. Also, Niige's family are bilingual, speaking both Ojibwe-Moan and English. Roger starts to learn a few words by spending time with Niige and other Ojibwe students. And then finally, Peter Razor, the author of the book, uses both languages, Ojibwe-Moan and English, and includes a glossary in the back of the book to help us, those of us who don't know Ojibwe-Moan. I hope you've been using that glossary. You don't have to look up everything, but if a word is repeated or if you really need to understand one particular line, using the glossary in the back is really helpful. Language is power. As you keep reading the book, think about all the ways that you use language in everyday life and all the things that language allows you to do. Pay attention to how language is used for both oppression and empowerment, not just in the book Wiijiwaaganag, but in our own society today. How are words used to welcome groups or exclude them? How do people like Peter Razor use language to reclaim their voice and tell their stories?